Well, hello, it's me, yes. What's all this, you might ask? What's all this? Well, this is because, I do a lot of political videos well, I look back now and I'm thinking what's happening in the world today, how things have changed so much. I mean, I grew up knowing, in a knowing way, as I was born in 53, so in 63, I was 10 years old, so I was starting to understand what was going on in the world at that age. And I basically grew up in that part of the 60s. I remember the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were coming out and all the other bits and pieces. But what was life really like? Was it better? I surely was, from my point of view. Before we get into it, don't forget, you can watch my videos on Rumble or on Substack or wherever you want to go. You'll probably find it on YouTube too. And please give me some likes and yeses and nos and opinions, whatever you want. Press the like button or subscribe, whatever it is you do. And help me to achieve more. I'm actually over 600,000 viewers on Rumble now, 625,000 I think, which is good now for an old man of 72. Anyway, let's get into the program today. I mean, things were so much different back in the day, in the 60s. You've got sort of like the students. Let's look at the teenagers and student culture and how it was, because I lived through it, and I keep pulling this bleeding wire on me here. Let's get rid of it. And I lived through it, and it was a wonderful time, the music and all the rest of it. And if you look at these people here, the 1960s UK teenagers, they generally respected traditional values less than their previous generation who just came out of the war. So now they had desires, they had a voice, they had cash, there was money about, and they used it. I mean, students in them days, I mean, if we look at what students do as far as demonstrating and standing up for causes, which they do today in 2026, which is basically, it's sickly to see them damaging people's property, destroying things, blocking roads, being abusive to the police. And that doesn't get the point across. Don't think that in the 60s they didn't have protests. They did. And the protests of the 60s...
Today, student activity in Britain is beginning to follow the international pattern. The British...
Oops, sorry.
Today, student activity in Britain is beginning to follow the international pattern. The British student is on the move.
Well, that should have gone to there, but it didn't. Oh, there we go. So, as you can see here, you've got the people doing their protesting, and this particular protest was over student creeds.
Student life, interference against which there seems to be no appeal.
And as you can see, they're protesting. They've got their placards. They're walking the streets. They're not stopping the traffic. They're getting the point across. And the television are covering the protest.
Down by its own constitution. Discussion on matters not related to student welfare is banned. The activists who form the Radical Students' Alliance are in revolt against that constitution. Their Ginger Group was set up 3 months ago to push for collective student action, to control their own unions, have a say in academic and disciplinary matters, and work for a classless, integrated, and comprehensive educational system.
It's amazing. Look, people are just going about their business. Yeah, they're not being stopped by radical people who are shouting and screaming and bawling. They're organised a march. They get more respect because people can go by their day, but they are very, very visible. I'm sure they had a rally at the end of it in some square, maybe Trafalgar Square or whatever. And, they're civilised people as opposed to what you see today. Today, for me, it's sickening to watch they're not protests anymore. They've gone past that, and I think the police have every right to stop them. I mean, the Gaza thing, which was awful, that goes on and on and on. It's just a show of strength, you know. You got ultra radical people taking part in them things, and it's disgusting. It really is disgusting. But hey, anyway, so students in the back of the day, yes, they protested, but they had a cause. They were very polite. They maintained a polite manner, and they played a great part in the communities. They did this also. They did take part in community things. They're a different breed. My breed, the breed of the 60s and the 70s, were very different. They didn't go round, doing the things that you see all these running around with machetes and the men with the bum bags and covering their faces. They took part in society. They contributed, even though, for example, they did things like this.
Have you heard anything more about your pension, Kay?
No, it's just the same.
Oh.
Struggle along with it somehow,
Yes. They're not giving you any more?
No, no. Unless if you'd like some.
Well, would you like one?
Yes, we may as well have.
Okay. Anyway.
British students normally make headlines only with the absurdities of rag day stunts. Their social work of visiting the elderly and their contributions to charity are often underestimated.
Right. Yeah?
Thank you, darling. Thank you very much. Oh, I think I'll have a little more milk in mine.
How it was
Yes,
back there.
thank you.
Thank you, dear. No.
Have you heard from Natalie, from your sister?
I've heard from Mary, my sister Mary in
Yes.
California, she and her husband. I had a lovely letter from them. She
Good.
worries over me a lot, you know.
Have you thought any more about going out to California?
Well, I have, but I think they want younger people out there.
It's so nice. I mean, that was a student volunteering and looking in on elderly people, and so many did that in the old. I can remember that we used to go when I was 10 years old. As I said, I remember going to an old people's home, and we put on a little show for them. There was everybody cared about everybody. There was bad people, yes, but not to the extent that we have bad people today, and bad teenagers and unruly, and they've all got these invented illnesses now, or the ADHD, and I don't even know, it's all numbers and words. And I suppose there is some kids that really do suffer from that. In my day, they were just, wow, he's hyperactive. Well, it was, but yeah, okay, there's people who've got illness and do suffer from these kind of things. But I think a lot of the time it's just an excuse for bad kids not being controlled by their parents, bad parents. We were controlled by our parents. And as I said, they were, even back in the 60s, the majority of the young had a sort of moral perspective and were involved in the community in many ways, like I've just shown you one. For example, some would go out and they'd raise money for charity.
Well, we support a specific project, our group. Our profits go to help support a small clinic in Tripoli. There's a doctor and Mrs. McCarthy and a part-time nurse who help the local people in a very poor area. They have a high proportion of eye disease there, trachoma, and they spend a lot of money each month simply on terramycin eye ointment to help prevent this disease.
A self-sacrifice like eating a 2 and 6-penny lunch of bread and cheese can save the sight of hundreds of children in Libya. The support for charity organisations like Oxfam and War on Want comes primarily from British students.
It's amazing that, that the students, university and senior, and junior, I was 10 when I went on one of the first sort of community things that we did. I mean, it wasn't all goodness, sweetness and light. I mean, things were changing in the 60s. And youth culture became defined by rebellion against the man, the system, but not in the way it is today. It wasn't, beating down doors and spraying paint on works of art. It was not, it rallies and debates and things like this, and things got done on the back of that. People came up with ideas and people listened. Today they just come up with a machete and say, do what you like, or they have no morals. And then we got in the 60s, in the mid 60s, we got the mods and the rockers, and we got this wonderful fashion. I mean, the fashion then was amazing compared to what you wear today, or what you don't wear. I think some of it goes beyond the pale. I'm not a fuddy-duddy, you know what I mean, but some girls go out in ways that I wouldn't think, and men too, not just girls. But I mean, it came with the rebellion that they started to experiment more with music, although we had the normal pop music, the likes of I don't know, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, and I don't know, all the ones from that time in the 60s, some fantastic bands. But they were also experimenting with psychological rock music and psychedelic sound. That's why I got the backdrop, you see. And that was going on, and that was sort of influencing another wave of teenage trends. I mean, I'm going to have a little musical interlude right now and play some music of the psychedelic kind, and you can imagine being somewhere and kind of, yeah, man, I'm rocking out, man. I'm going to say one thing, it was music. I like all the tie-dye shirts as well in the background.
Stirring colors gently drawn, a glowing hum circles through the sky, calling every wandering soul to fly.
You can imagine everybody sitting cross-legged on the floor, and they're smoking a joint or had some cannabis cake, and they put out on the weird music. But hey, they cause no problems. I will only go too long because I don't want you all to get kind of monged out on psychedelic music. Well, you see, it was another, how can I say, it was another new wave, a new experimental, and people were excited, and fashion was amazing, and it was the time also of the miniskirt and all the famous names, Mary Quant and I don't know, all the women's ones, It was a really, really good time. And it started, but permissive, we call it permissive in them days, behaviour, increased because of also in the 60s, I think 1960, maybe 1960 or 61, the contraceptive pill. And that was just a great shift in attitude towards premarital sex and drug use, marked a departure from strict traditional laws. It did. And permissive behaviour sort of took over. I mean, the mid-60s, late 60s, it started off mainly in these kind of groups like this, hippies who were out for a good time, and they sort of got high.
An obligation to feed these people, to house them, or to care for them. If they are coming here, they better be prepared to take care of themselves with their own money, to get proper room space, to feed themselves. No public funds will be used. We need it to take care of our city. Nor will they be allowed.
Kids in the 60s were very much challenging their parents' values. There was very much a sense of...
Well, we felt that, it was legal, people could smoke it and enjoy it, and everybody should have it all across the nation. So we decided to do it ourselves. It's capitalism, laissez-faire style.
Do you get high on it?
I get high on it, yeah. A lot of people get high on it. It works. Had the grooviest psychedelic I've ever had. Yeah. Well, could you tell us about it? Well, I couldn't describe it. It's something you have to experience for yourself. I took it and went up in the woods and got very in tune with nature. What I heard about it is pretty nice stuff. It was supposed to be very beautiful. I understand it can kill you, too. Oh, I don't know. Possibility of getting killed walking across the street. You mentioned and admitted on the stand that you'd taken peyote and marijuana today. Yes. How does that affect your consciousness? LSD, too. And LSD all today. How does that affect your consciousness and your ability to cope with questions from the floor? Well, as you see me now, I appear like any other human being. You don't notice anything different.
The last third of the 20th century, traveling like a dream toward its end, it is the time to plant books.
San Francisco's flower children may not have invented street theater, but they certainly were accomplished practitioners of improbable improvisation during the Summer of Love. No one had more fun putting on the establishment than the Diggers, a combination commune, playful political group, and street troupe dedicated to the proposition that virtually all of society's values should be challenged and attacked. You simply can't understand the revolutionary nature of what was happening then without zeroing in on the Diggers.
We're not hurting anybody. We're not doing anything wrong. We were just one big happy family.
We will all remember Haight Street and the hippie friends we knew, and the scene that was too beautiful to last. Yes, the scene was all too wondrous, and the folks were all too pure to survive the world's materialistic mass. Like bohemians and beatniks, we are doomed to fade away, sinking back into a monstrous middle class.
So, I mean, but come on, it was a wonderful time. It was peaceful. Yeah, the drugs were there, and there was also another side. I'm not going to show you that because if anybody's ever seen the film Quadrophenia, you'll know what I'm on about. There was groups like the Mods and the Rockers, and they kind of gained notoriety because of the clashes between them. There was a very famous one on Brighton Beach in the UK where they clashed, and the police intervened. And I say Quadrophenia is probably based on that. I think it's Quadrophenia, Quadrophenia based on that. It was challenging the moral orthodoxy of the 40s and the 50s. I mean, they come out of the war, they needed to let off steam. So you've got the hippie thing falling on one side, and then you've got the sort of rebellious boys and girls on the other side. They weren't that rebellious. They were rebellious amongst themselves, and they thought that they were kind of, they were hip. They were sticking it to the man, in another way. But I mean, it was very innocent. I mean, it was in the 60s when women got bold enough to ask a man to get married. But it was really weird. The BBC went out and did a question, how would you propose? And I thought it was quite funny because there was still this sort of moral attitude in the 60s and the early 70s. And this is what the BBC came up with.
Well, I don't think I would say it outright. I would just say it in as few words as possible, but make my meaning quite clear.
I wouldn't.
Why not?
Because I think it's stupid.
Why is it stupid?
Well, because I think if the man wanted to marry the woman, he would have asked her himself.
But he might be too bashful, you see.
Well, if he's too bashful, then he's stupid himself, isn't he?
Get him in a good mood first.
No, now how do you do that? This is the point, you see.
We'll get him a bit drunk, I should imagine.
Would you give him a drink first, maybe?
No, I don't think so, really.
You'd rather have him cold sober?
Yeah.
When would you propose? Where?
When he was feeling really ill and miserable and downhearted, when he had a really running cold.
I do travel a lot in my job, and I'd most probably bring up that I had a very good offer, perhaps in another country for 6 months, and I was thinking of taking it, as there's nothing here to keep me. And then if I really did have to push him, which I hope I wouldn't have to anyway, I'd most probably just say, you know, how about getting married before I go off?
Now, if you were proposing to me, how would you set about it?
Well, if I hadn't seen you before, what would I do? I should say, well, you look a very nice gentleman. The appearance of you I like, and you're clean.
And housebroken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'd say, well, are you domesticated in any way? And if you said yes, I'd take all them things into consideration. And I'll say, well, what about it?
Just like that?
Yes.
You wouldn't be afraid of a no, eh?
No. Because I think I'd like you anyway.
I think it was hilarious, really, how the young and the old lady. Do you notice that they were very polite, very well spoken, no stupidity about it. You ask that question to girls today, and there'll probably be a load of effing and blinding or whatever. It just loved that time. It was, the 60s and the 70s, and probably some of parts of the 80s were really good. And I'm sure all people say that, but I've lived this long, and looking back at looking at what's happening in the world today and in Europe and in England, and the behaviour and everything that's going, it just makes me feel sad that we couldn't have that kind of lifestyle. Yes, there was crime. There was people like the Crays, and there was crime, but it was a different thing. It wasn't people running in other people's, people who got shops and you run in there, steal and take. That wasn't your morals wouldn't allow you to do that. You couldn't do that. It just wouldn't happen. There was, I'm sure there was some shoplifters. But again, we go back to the community. I mean, even in the 60s, when the immigrants started to come in, and this is what really hurts, because we have big problems with immigrants now. But the type of immigrants that came in, they wanted to take part. They wanted to, learn about the culture. And again, lots and lots of teenagers and students went out and they helped.
Fundraising for charity has been a long tradition of British students, but it's only in the last 3 years that they've seriously taken up social work. The arrival of immigrants from India and Pakistan has given them new opportunities.
He is a fisherman. Good. Now, can you read this for me? Looking at the picture.
Here are Jack and Bill with their cat. Tiger is a striped cat who has.
I mean, it's all gone sour now, and I mean the early people that came in, but if you looked at the two gentlemen sitting behind, who were overlooking this young girl, teaching another girl, it already showed to me, because I know now, that they didn't really like to educate the girls very much, and still don't. So I think the rot set in from the very beginning with some, not with all, because some have made very good lives here. Some have assimilated very well here. But for me, like I always said, multiculturalism doesn't work. We need people who assimilate. But there you go. So that's my look back on the 60s. I hope you judge it. It's just a change from doing, every time I'm doing these political ones, I do a lot of political, because I feel a lot about what's happening in the country, which is really bad. And it's getting to the stage where every day there's something new that's been taken away from white Caucasian people, indigenous people of England, of Scotland and Wales and France and Paris and Rome. It's just a great takeover and trying to push us back into a culture that we don't want to be in. I'd much rather have the culture that we had before, and we were happy. That doesn't mean we don't want any immigrants, because they should fit in with us, not us fit in with them. That's the thing. But anyway, I've said I don't want to make it too political, but I will leave it. I'm going to do one more video. And this is basically what teenagers are doing on the street now. And I've got quite mild, because it's far worse than all this. But just watch this.
This is a high street under siege from a group of teenagers causing damage, stealing, and making threats.
I will kill you.
God sake.
I will kill you.
Yeah.
This is never ever gonna help you. You can film me all you want. I really couldn't give a flying.
The antisocial behaviour continues.
Catch you there, dude. Catch you there, please.
Do you want to tell us what you're doing on the roof? Some don't want to talk, but eventually, a rare insight from some of those terrorising this community.
I've threatened people and I've hit people, and I will admit to that.
You've damaged things, you've broken things.
I admit that I've done wrong, yeah. The second you get into like one bit of trouble in the police, you fall into it too deep and you can't get out.
She is 14 years old, drinking, vaping, and admitting violence. But people don't want you here. They say you're a nuisance.
Oh, I'm fully aware of that.
And like, I know what we're doing is wrong, but we're teenage kids, we're going to have a little bit of fun. And I'm sorry for most of the people that we have damaged in this situation, but I have no sympathy. And I know it's not right to do it to shops and everything, but like, it's just one way of taking my anger out.
That's a sad state of affairs. That's from the BBC, and I give a tribute to them for actually going out and filming that. But the thing is, I look at that and it makes me so sad when I look at the young girls and the young men from the 60s, and they were nicely dressed. They're going out and helping in there. They were radical in a lot of ways. But they did it in a way that was not offensive to the rest of the population. That's it for today. It's not a political one. It's just me reminiscing about the 60s and how I wish that life was still the same now as was then. And it's basically, no, it just beggars belief. I mean, I remember when kids went out to play like this. You know, not a care in the world, look well dressed. They all look like they've had their breakfast. They line up in an orderly way. There'll be a few little rebellious kids there. But 60s kids, which was I, were one of them. They used to play, no iPhones, no pads, and nothing. They played games. The girls had tucked their dresses in their knickers and away they go. I remember them doing that as well. You know, it's so sad that we've lost all this. We've lost it. It's not there now. At this, even this young age, they're sort of radicalised. They've been taught things they shouldn't know in the beginning. And just finally, the police. I mean, when we were kids, you know, we were afraid of the police. I mean, we all had somebody like this.
The British policeman is a friend to all except the criminal. He is taught that the police are the servants, not the masters of the public, and that it is their duty to be ready at all times to protect and befriend all those who need help. Whatever the trouble is, people know that the policeman will deal with the situation efficiently and without fuss. Advice is readily sought from them on a great variety of personal problems, even on the correct way in which an old age pension form should be completed. Nothing is too trivial. Nothing is too serious for his attention. And he thereby becomes a good friend of the people. They have learned to trust and respect him. The policeman is a friend of the people, and he knows that they will always turn to him without fear or restraint in their time of need.
Oh, there you go. The policeman's always there to help out. I remember, I mean, I should really finish this video now, but I just got to tell you this. I remember the local bobby that we had when I was in the UK, growing up as a kid. We had a bobby called, I'm 72 years old, and I can still remember him and his name. We had Bobby Bentley, we used to call him. Bobby, well, his name was PC Bentley. Bobby Bentley. If we saw him coming down the road, it didn't matter if we were doing anything wrong or not, we used to run away. And if we did catch you doing something like nicking somebody's apples out of trees, his apple trees, or, you know, something, not serious stuff, you know, or not watching when you cross the road, he'd grab hold of you. But if you did something bad, he'd grab hold of you and he'd say, hey, you've got three choices. I'm going to take you to the police station, or I'm going to take you to your father, or I'll give you rather bloody clip round the ear hole now. And we always went for the clip round the ear hole because if you went to your father, they'd strap you. So you drove around that and you didn't want to go to the police station because that meant your dad would have to come and pick you up. So he was, no truth, he was fair. And you could ask him anything. He was a great guy. And that was Bobby Bentley. That's the one I remember as a kid. We don't get any of that now. Kids have got no affinity with the police. In fact, they see the police as a complete enemy. And in some cases they are, because the kids are just, there's just so many feral kids on the streets now. It's amazing. Anyway, I've gone too far, too long. Please subscribe to my videos, give me a like, and if you look on there, I've got a tip jar on there, you can put something in it. I want to buy some more equipment. Yes, even at my age, I want to buy some more equipment. So every little helps. And as I said, I'm up to 625,000 viewers on Rumble, and apart from that, I'm on others like Substacks and YouTube and other places as well. Twitch. Yeah, no. Twitter. Twitch. I'm on there. Oh, and Kick. I'm on there as well. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it, all this technology? Anyway, have a great day. I digress from what I usually do because I just thought I'm fed up. I'm just fed up of what I watch, what I'm watching happening in England. It's getting me down, man. It used to be a beautiful place. Now, I'd never come back to live there for all the tea in China. All right, then. Have a great time. And till the next time, stay safe. And hopefully, I'll see you very, very soon. Oh, it does. See you soon.